You walk into your local coffee shop and your barista knows your name and has your order ready before you even reach the register. What they don't know and what your doctor hasn't told you is what that cup is actually doing inside your body from the moment you take the first sip. And I'm talking about things that have nothing to do with waking you up or helping you poop. We're talking about your liver, your cholesterol, your brain, your hormones, and your cardiovascular health. I'm Dr. Harricharan Singh, and today we're going through everything coffee is doing to your body that your barista absolutely didn't learn during their training. Stay until the end because the last one involves your French press, your LDL cholesterol, and a plot twist that I genuinely enjoy delivering. Before we get into it, a quick note on why you should listen to me over your barista on this particular matter. Your barista is an artist, a craftsperson, a genuinely skilled human being who can make a flower in a cup of coffee with their eyes closed. I respect that deeply, and I'll admit, I've taken a couple courses on how to be a barista and failed to even get close to what they can do. But their training didn't cover adenosine receptors, caffeine's effect on LDL metabolism, and it definitely didn't cover the gut-liver axis, but mine did. So here's what's actually happening, system by system, from the moment coffee enters your body. Some of it will make you feel great about your habit, and some of it will make you look at your mug very differently. But all of it is backed by real science. Let's go. Effect number 1, caffeine is not giving you energy, it's stealing from it later. Let's start with the thing everyone thinks they understand about coffee, but is absolutely wrong. Caffeine doesn't give you energy or create alertness. It blocks the signal that tells you that you're running out of it. Here's the mechanism. While you're awake, your brain accumulates something called adenosine. The longer you're awake, the more adenosine builds up, the more it binds to its receptors, and the sleepier you feel. Caffeine is structurally similar enough to adenosine that it plugs into those same receptors and blocks adenosine from binding. The result? You feel alert, energized, and like a functional human being before 8 a.m. But here's the part nobody tells you. The adenosine didn't go away. It kept accumulating the entire time caffeine was blocking the signal. So when the caffeine wears off, which happens gradually over several hours, all of that stored adenosine binds to the now unblocked receptors, and that's why you feel that crash at 2 p.m. Your barista made the coffee, but they didn't warn you about the adenosine crash that follows. Effect number 2, your morning coffee is affecting your medications. This one catches a lot of folks off guard, and it matters if you take any regular prescription medications. Coffee interacts with medications in 3 distinct ways, and not in a casual, maybe sort of kind of way, but in a clinically documented, biochemically specific way. First, absorption. Common over-the-counter medications, including ibuprofen-type drugs and acetaminophen, have their absorption meaningfully altered when taken alongside coffee rather than water. You think you're taking your medication, and you're technically correct, but you're just not getting the fullest effect. Second, and this is the important one, your liver uses a specific enzyme called CYP1A2 to metabolize caffeine. That same enzyme also processes a significant number of commonly prescribed drugs, including certain antidepressants, the antipsychotic medication clozapine, theophylline, and even warfarin. When coffee competes with this enzyme, blood levels of those medications can rise. Higher blood levels mean stronger drug effects. Stronger drug effects mean potential toxicity. Third, coffee's mild diuretic effect speeds up the excretion of certain water-soluble nutrients, including magnesium, calcium, and B vitamins. So you're drinking your coffee, taking your meds, but the coffee is renegotiating the terms of both. So please talk to your pharmacist about your specific meds. It's a 3-minute conversation, but it actually matters. Effect 3, coffee is doing something to your gut before you finish the first sip. Most people know that coffee motivates their bowels and bladder, and most people blame the caffeine, but that's also wrong. Here's what's actually happening. Coffee, including decaf coffee, activates bitter taste receptors in your mouth the moment it makes contact. Those receptors send a signal that triggers gastric acid secretion and the release of a hormone called gastrin, which stimulates your colon to start moving. Before the coffee has even reached your stomach, your GI tract has received a signal and has started preparing. This is why decaf produces nearly the same bathroom urgency as regular coffee, because the mechanism is the bitter compounds activating taste receptors, not the caffeine doing anything to your gut. Your barista, to their immense credit, made you an excellent cup of something bitter, but they didn't explain the gastrocolic reflex it was about to trigger. One nuance worth mentioning, while most people experience this as an accelerating effect, for some individuals with slower gut motility, the net effect can actually contribute to constipation instead. Effect number 4, coffee is making your hands cold. This one is my personal favorite to tell people because they always think I'm making it up. If you've ever noticed that your hands feel cold after your morning coffee, you're not imagining it and you're not experiencing a medical emergency. You're experiencing basic adrenal physiology. Coffee stimulates your adrenal glands to release adrenaline and cortisol. One of adrenaline's primary jobs is peripheral vasoconstriction, tightening the small blood vessels in the extremities furthest from your body's core, your fingertips and your toes specifically. This is your sympathetic nervous system redistributing blood towards organs it considers most important for immediate function, like your heart, lungs, major muscles, and away from the periphery. Your hands feel cold because your body briefly decided your fingers were a lower priority than your vital organs. Your barista gave you a hot drink and your body responded by making your hands cold. The irony is real. Effect number 5, your coffee is a performance-enhancing drug. I want you to sit with this for a moment. Until 2004, caffeine was on the World Anti-Doping Agency's prohibited substance list. It was removed not because the evidence for its performance-enhancing effects weakened, the evidence actually got stronger, but because it was so universally consumed that enforcement was essentially impossible. Studies consistently show that caffeine at doses of 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight consumed 30 to 60 minutes before exercise significantly improves muscular endurance, muscular strength, aerobic performance, sprint speed, and anaerobic power output. The NCAA has set a caffeine concentration limit for athletes, not because caffeine is obscure or exotic, but because it works well enough to require regulation in competitive sports. Y'all, your barista made you something that the Olympic community took seriously enough to ban for decades, so use it accordingly. Effect number 6, coffee is protecting your brain in ways science is still figuring out. Here's where coffee stops being a guilty pleasure and starts being a tool to protect your brain, because the association between coffee consumption and reduced risk of Parkinson's disease shows that higher coffee consumption is associated with approximately 25 to 30% lower risk of developing Parkinson's disease. Caffeine's blockade of the A2A adenosine receptor appears to be protective for the dopaminergic neurons in the substantia nigra, the exact neurons selectively destroyed in Parkinson's disease. For cognitive decline and dementia, the evidence is still developing, but consistently trends in a positive direction across multiple large cohort studies. 3 to 4 cups a day is the range most consistently associated with the strongest neurological benefits in the research literature. Without knowing it, your barista is potentially serving you something with meaningfully neuroprotective properties. Y'all, I think they deserve a larger tip than they're probably getting. Effect number 7, coffee is helping your liver more than you realize. If I told you there was a drink that was associated with 44% lower risk of liver cirrhosis, approximately 40% lower risk of liver cancer, and meaningful reduction in liver fat in people with fatty liver disease, and that this drink was legal, affordable, available on every street corner, and tasted good, you'd probably assume I was describing something new and only served in retirement communities. But you'd be wrong. The liver data on coffee is striking. The associations are large, consistent across independent studies, biologically plausible through coffee's anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects on the liver tissue, and present even in decaffeinated coffee, which again implicates the polyphenol and chlorogenic acid content rather than the caffeine specifically. If you've been told you have fatty liver disease, now called MASLD, this information should prompt you to have a conversation with your physician. Effect number 8, your coffee is suppressing your appetite, but with a catch. Coffee has real, documented effects on appetite and metabolism, but it's slightly more nuanced than the wellness industry typically presents. Black coffee is nearly calorie-free and produces a modest increase in metabolic rate. Research suggests approximately 3 to 11% in the short term. Caffeine suppresses ghrelin, the hormone responsible for hunger signaling, and decaffeinated coffee independently increases peptide YY, a hormone that makes you feel full through a non-caffeine mechanism. For people who practice intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding, research supports that black coffee doesn't break a fast and preserves most of the metabolic benefit of fasting. But the moment you add cream, sugar, a flavored syrup, or anything else with calories, the fast is broken and the metabolic benefits change entirely. Sadly, there's a catch. The appetite-suppressing effects of caffeine are dose-dependent and tolerance develops over time, meaning regular coffee drinkers progressively lose the appetite suppression benefit as their adenosine receptors adapt. Also, and I say this with all seriousness, a large caramel macchiato with extra drizzle is not a metabolism boosting health intervention. The coffee's in there somewhere, but the 400 calories of sugar and cream are also in there. These are not the same products. Effect number 9, your coffee temporarily raises your blood pressure. Unfortunately, coffee temporarily raises blood pressure through the same adrenaline-mediated mechanism that is making your hands cold. But here's the important nuance. Long-term regular coffee consumption doesn't appear to cause chronic high blood pressure in most people. The prevailing evidence suggests that habitual coffee drinkers develop receptor tolerance that blunts the blood pressure response over time. However, and this is a genuine clinical however, I've personally managed patients who achieved meaningful improvements in blood pressure control by reducing caffeine intake. So there is individual variation here. For atrial fibrillation specifically, the long-standing clinical advice to eliminate all caffeine if you have AFib isn't well supported by current evidence. A meta-analysis examining the association between moderate coffee consumption and atrial fibrillation found no significant increased risk. If you have AFib and you've been told to cut out coffee entirely, it is worth revisiting this with your cardiologist. Effect number 10, your French press is raising your cholesterol and your barista definitely doesn't know this. And now, the moment I promised you at the beginning, the French press, the LDL, the plot twist. Coffee contains compounds called cafestol and cawiol, molecules present in coffee oils. These compounds raise LDL cholesterol through a specific mechanism. They inhibit a bile acid receptor in your intestines called FXR, which impairs your liver's ability to clear LDL from the bloodstream. A review of 6 randomized controlled trials published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that heavy consumption of unfiltered coffee can raise LDL cholesterol by 20 to 30 points. Now, here's the critical detail, and the reason brewing method actually matters clinically. Paper filters remove approximately 80% of cafestol and cawiol by binding the oils. What passes through is the caffeine, the polyphenols, the chlorogenic acid, the liver-protecting compounds, but not the cholesterol-raising ones. Your French press is beautiful and it produces an excellent cup of coffee, but it has also been raising your LDL every single time you use it. So if your cholesterol is a concern, try switching to a paper filter. Okay, here's what your barista knows: how you like your coffee, your name, and how your morning is going based on whether you made eye contact or not. But here's what you now know that they don't. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors rather than creating energy. Coffee interacts with some prescription medications that can meaningfully alter drug levels. The gastrocolic reflex is triggered by bitter taste receptors before the coffee reaches your stomach. Adrenaline temporarily makes your hands cold. Your coffee is a banned performance-enhancing substance with a doping history. The liver data is genuinely remarkable. The association with Parkinson's disease are among the most consistent in neuroscience. Your appetite suppression benefit diminishes with tolerance. Your blood pressure response is probably fine at moderate doses, and your French press is doing something to your LDL that your cardiologist would find very interesting. If this video changed how you think about your cup of coffee or gave you something fun to share with your barista, then please subscribe and let me know in the comments what other topics you want me to cover. Okay, take care and I'll see you in the next one.